Chief of Defense Staff, CDS General Christopher Musa, yesterday met with Edo State Governor Mr. Godwin Obaseki and assured him that the Nigerian Army, in collaboration with sister security agencies, had the mandate of President Bola Tinubu to ensure a free, fair, credible and peaceful governorship election in the state on Saturday, September 21. Musa gave the assurances when he and other top military officers deployed to the state on election duty met with Obaseki at the government house in Benin City, the Edo State capital. Arise correspondent Christy Macaulay has more.
Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, at the 4th Brigade Command in Benin. His mission was to disclose the role of the military during and after the Edo governorship election holding on Saturday.
Mr. President has given us a clear mandate. He wants this election to be the most peaceful in the history of Edo State, and we're going to ensure that happens. So I want to appeal to the citizens to come out and vote en masse and vote. We guarantee them of their security. They should not be scared. Members of the armed forces are here to ensure that INEC does its job properly.
General Musa, while in Edo, also holds closed-door meeting with other security chiefs, after which he addressed the troops, codenamed Operation Safe Conduct, urging them to maintain the rules of engagement.
I don't want to hear anything that it is the armed forces that has caused problem here or the other. No. Our own is to provide that security. No any other agency in the name of vigilante, hunters or what? No. Only the statutory security agencies that are allowed to carry arms and operate on that Saturday. Your commanders will show you and tell you what to do. We are restricting movement, no convoy movement. Everybody should just walk, go and do his election and go back. We want it to be peaceful. Election should not be war. We don't want anybody injured, we don't want anybody killed. But anybody who decides to carry any weapon, whether cutlass, whether rifle, dame gun, machete or whatever, in the name of it intimidating any other person, we must get that person arrested. Is that clear?
Yes, sir!
Are you ready?
While in Benin, General Christopher Musa also met with Governor Godwin Obaseki in Government House. Christy Macaulay, Arise News.
All right, the military there in a show of force and almost a declaration that if you behave anyhow, you see anyhow, or whatever you see, if you behave anyhow, then be ready for the consequences of your action. Your take on this story, Rufai?
At first, it's a reflection of the shambolic nature of our democracy. The military is not supposed to be doing a show of force near our elections in the first place. The police is supposed to handle that. But because of the peculiar nature and the way the police have been degraded deliberately by many actors over the years, which this also goes back to the military days, you're seeing all of this. But what's the substance of the matter? We don't want war in Edo. Election no be war. We want free and fair elections. But there are discordant tools across both parts. And there's a lot of fake news and misinformation. There was a story we took here that Muyiwa Adejobi reacted to, that of a man that they said he was a stakeholder of a People's Democratic Party or something. But it was revealed that that man had been under investigations for killing of somebody at the Benin airport. So, isn't it funny that we have bloodlines between who is a politician and who is a criminal?
That was yesterday on
Yes.
Trending. Okay, the guy that was being dragged into a vehicle.
So who is a politician and a criminal? Because most of the problem even with our politics is that most of these criminals morph into various political parties. And that's why we have very blurred lines. But we don't want, and because that thing did feed into the narrative of, oh, they've been arresting PDP-inclined people and all of that. That clarification was made by the police. I'm sure the PDP might have to react to it and say, okay, what about the other people from our political party you've arrested all this while? We can go back and forth as much as we want, but we need to have safe and secure elections. Excessive materials have been deployed by the Nigerian Air Force yesterday. Constantly, more police officers are added, over 35,000 now, more logistical operations. It's going to be led by our very good friend here, former force spokesperson, DIG, Frank Mba. we just want to call on the police that we do not want to hear cases of rigging, cases of war, cases of violence. And this talk about federal might is an aberration in our polity. Okay. The only might that should count in that election is the might of the Edo people. Sefini.
Right. Election is not war. Dr. Batsi.
Okay, very quickly. You know, in previous elections, we have always said elections should be civilian operations. They should not be militarized. We also know that in previous elections in this country, since the return to democratic rule in 1999, that what the state provides is what they call a concentric circle of security at polling stations. You have the military monitoring the security of ballot papers. Then when you get to the polling center, you have the police, you have the DSS, you have civil defense, all of them trying to protect the ballot. So usually you have about 4 layers of security. But what we have seen now in Edo State with the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, going there personally, you know, to talk to the troops, he made one point. His point was that, look, it is the president himself that has directed us to come to Edo State to ensure free and fair polls in Edo State. Well, we saw General Musa talking to the troops. I do not imagine that he will stand there himself and be following ballot papers around. But that should send a very strong signal to Nigerians. That's one. This is basically a police function. And what we have seen in Edo State in the lead up to this election on Saturday is, you know, the various gladiators, specifically the People's Democratic Party, specifically the governor of the state, Godwin Obaseki, expressing lack of confidence in the police. The PDP, both at the state level and at the national level, have said that the police are complicit, that the police is biased, and they've been talking about a conflict on Saturday expected between federal might and people's might. And what you know, General Musa has gone there to say, is to remind the people of Edo State that President Tinubu has given the military a mandate to ensure that the people's vote counts. Now, this is the big thing. Will the people's vote count on Saturday? What will be that predicted conflict between the people's might and what the PDP is complaining about, the federal might? Now, to balance the story, I'm aware that the Inspector General of Police, Kade Egbetokun, has made it very clear that the police is impartial. Some of the people who were arrested by the police on different allegations, I read somewhere, including Collins Aigbogun, have been released now. But what we will say, by way of summary, is as follows. One, that the people's might should prevail on Saturday. It should be the people of Edo State that should elect, not federal might. Two, that the various stakeholders should do their bit. The police should live up to the promise, the affirmation by the Inspector General of Police that they are impartial and that they are not biased. Three, INEC is another major stakeholder in this. INEC should also ensure that it plays its part. We don't want to hear that BVAS is not working. We don't want to hear that there is technical glitch somewhere, because this is an off-cycle election. But more importantly, the people of Edo State should go out en masse to make a choice, an informed choice. They have 17 candidates in this election. They have three-way choice, a three-way battle between the APC, the PDP, and the Labour Party. The people of Edo State should refuse to be intimidated. They should all go out and vote and make a decision. Because at the end of the day, they will be the ones that will live with the consequences for the next 4 years.
Absolutely. Let me echo the words of the Chief of Defense Staff, General CG Musa, election should not be war. It should not be war. And honestly, despite the fact that he said it himself, when you see soldiers, the sight of soldiers is an indication of war. It shouldn't be like that, unfortunately. But we've seen in recent times, particularly elections in Nigeria, where it has been heavily militarized, where we've seen a heavy presence of the military and the other security agencies almost take a back step. And we see the effect of this. People see military officers in different places, and it puts a bit of more fear against anyone who might want to perpetrate evil, ballot snatching and the likes. But what we are calling on the military and security agencies, or just emphasizing this morning, is that the military must not be seen to take sides. The police must not be seen to take sides. They must continue to be neutral in the discharge of their duties. And it's a great thing that the CDS himself has come out to say that the president has mandated them to ensure that there's free, fair and credible elections in Edo State. It's very sad that we're hearing rumors of, violence or thoughts around it's going to be quite a tough battle in Edo State. Why shouldn't people be able to go out and exercise their civic rights and responsibilities, peacefully? So one thing I would say is that the governor made a statement, and I just want to highlight that statement. He said he begged the CDS to appeal to the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kaide Egbetokun, saying that he should talk to his officers because he made reference to NSAS protests and how the protests, when it was hijacked and turned violent, affected the state. I saw that as very curious because it is almost saying that this could be what would happen in the event that they don't take charge or they are seen to be partisan or take sides. And just to emphasize that we don't want to see the people of those states suffer just because an election cycle has come upon them again. A few things around why this narrative and this push for security is important is that insecurity would ultimately lead to voter apathy or low voter turnout. And then this means that the voice of the people will not be heard. In fact, it's been said as well that, this might end up, because of how tempestuous it's been, that it might end up in, election courts, tribunals here and there. The sad thing about that is that, again, we see that more and more power is taken from the people to make their choice as to who is their preferred candidate and put in the hands of the judiciary. This is not democracy. Democracy is the government for the people, by the people, and of the people. So the people should be allowed to make their choices. And Edo State, like Dr. Bati had said, 17 candidates, you have a choice. The power is in your hands. I'm hoping that this show of solidarity or assurance by military personnel or security agencies would assure people to come out on the day and vote peacefully.